Hi friends, this is Hannah from Hannah B Flute, and today I am going to talk to you all about the alto flute, specifically the alto flute head joint. So, unlike the C flute, where the vast majority of us, except for like little kids, play on a straight head joint, which looks like this, on an alto flute you can play with a straight head joint or a curved head joint. So let's talk about it. So of course, what is a head joint? We all know what a head joint is. It is the part of the flute that you blow into to produce a sound. It connects into the body and air travels through the embouchure hole right here down into the tubing, and we use our keys to change the length of the tube and therefore the pitch. So why does the alto flute head joint matter, and why are they straight and curved? Well, the head joint matters because it affects the reach of the instrument. So for example, I will assemble my alto flute. Here you have the body and foot joint. If I were to use the curved head joint, it sits about here compared to the straight head joint, which sits out here. That's a lot longer reach, especially for the right hand, but even for the left hand. And so for some players with shorter arms or smaller hands, it could be hard to use the straight head joint on an alto flute. Now, another reason the head joint matters is intonation. So the straight head joint, which again is this one, it looks very much like your C flute, tends to have a better intonation, especially up in that third octave compared to the curved head joint. So, and I will explain why. The head joint tubing is ever so slightly conical, meaning the closed end is just a slight bit smaller than the open end, the diameter and circumference. Now on a straight head joint, you can have that taper be continuous throughout the entire tubing. Compare that to the curved head joint, where you can have it be continuous until about here, which is where this part, most curved head joints are in two pieces. Then this curve, it can't be as clear, like it can't have the same taper. So the intonation on a curved head joint, especially up high, can be a little wonky. And so it's good to learn some alternate fingerings to use when playing on a curved head joint, when playing especially in the third octave. Another thing to consider is the playing angle. So as you might suspect, the straight head joint works very similarly to that on a flute. You just, you put it together and you hold it similarly to your regular concert flute. With the curved head joint, there are a couple of ways you can do this. The first option is that you can line it up so that the head joint sits pretty much level with the body, and you can play it like this. I prefer, when I am using the curved head joint, which I don't do that often, but if I do, I prefer to place it a little bit higher up, more like this, so that it's raised and behind. That just feels more comfortable to me. Play around with it if you have a curved head joint to find what works for you. Now, is one of these head joints better than the other? So obviously there is the comfort element that makes the curved head joint better. Meanwhile, there's the intonation element and the balance element that might make the straight head joint better, because the balance, even though it is larger, it feels much more similar to what you're used to on the C flute. So who should play on a straight head joint? Um, I would recommend this to anyone with long arms, big hands. I would say someone who's taller. However, that's my biggest pet peeve is that when people say height affects what head joint is better for you. I'm 5'2", and I prefer the straight head joint because I have long arms. I know people who are taller than me who prefer the curved head joint. So, um, anyone with long arms, anyone playing in the third octave who should play the curved head joint is, of course, anyone with shorter arms, smaller hands, and anyone who just finds it more comfortable. Now, some people will switch between the two head joints. They'll use the curved during a longer playing session, practice session, and then they'll perform on the straight. I understand where that logic comes from because the curved is more comfortable. The straight head generally sounds better, so you want the best sound for performance. However, the intonation can be different enough that you really should be practicing on the head joint that you are going to be performing on. So, yeah, now you may be wondering, if that is my opinion, why I got an alto with both head joints. And there are a couple reasons. First, it was the only one of this beautiful copper alloy model available to me. However, I also bought this alto knowing that it would almost certainly be my forever alto. I don't plan on upgrading anytime in the future, in the near future, for another few decades. So because of that, I don't want to be forced to spend a good $2,500, $3,000 just to get a curved head joint if I decide in the next few years that that is more comfortable for me. Also, since I am a content creator, I like having both so that I can make videos just like this one for you guys without having to borrow an alto flute or worry about anything like that. So for most people, I would recommend, especially if you're getting your first alto flute, to just get one head joint. Try lots of altos, try with both head joints. I did that and I found the straight head more comfortable. So when I bought my first one, which is a pearl, which you can watch my video review of that on my channel, I got just the straight head joint. But thinking long term, this time around, I was happy to get both head joints because with the Trevor James, it was only an increase in price of like $850. Compare that to $2,500 or $3,000, which is what I see the like rare curved alto flute head joint going for, and it's just a much better deal. Plus, when you buy a head joint with, or an alto flute with both head joints, you know both head joints are going to work. Obviously, if you're buying an alto flute for your studio or flute choir, it can also be smart to get both head joints because you never know who's going to be playing the alto and which head joint they may prefer. So those are my thoughts on the straight and curved head joints. Now, to help you compare, I will put the alto flute back together and I will just play a little bit first on the straight head joint. And now for the curved head joint. So I hope you enjoyed this comparison of the straight and curved alto flute head joint. You can read the blog post on this topic linked below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please like and subscribe. See you next time.